Hi everyone. Today we're having our first ever visit to Darien Lake, a park just outside of Buffalo, New York. This was a bit of a drive for us, but it's worth it. We're looking forward to checking out some of the coasters, and that's actually what this video is mainly going to be focused on. They have 8 coasters here. On paper, they don't sound all that spectacular. A bunch of styles of coaster that are found at other parks, but every park has a different ride experience, so it's worth giving these coasters a shot. They might surprise us, so we're gonna ride them, see what we think, and we'll also throw in a few other tidbits of interesting things we might see around the park. We're not going to cover the park too in depth since it's our first time here. I believe that it's important for us to focus on actually experiencing the park rather than recording everything we see. So we're going to take some time for ourselves to just take a look at the park, soak it in. Not only that, but it'll give you a little bit of a teaser and hopefully make you want to come here yourself so you can experience it on your own. So we hope you enjoy the video. So here's a look at the map that we're going to be using. We're going to try to go around counterclockwise around the map. Over in this area, there are 4 coasters clustered together, and then heading farther up north, there's 2 more over here, and then the last 2 are over here in the west. So that'll be all 8 of the coasters. Let's see how many of them are running today. And the first coaster that we come to as we make our counterclockwise rotation around the park is Viper, an old aero looping coaster. Looks like a pretty standard aero looper. Track layout. Hopefully these seats are a little more comfortable than most of the trains on the aero loopers. We'll give it a shot and see how it goes. So, Viper, coaster credit number 205 for me and 206 for Jen. So, on a scale of 1 to 6 Flags, Jen thought it was a 3 out of 6. I personally thought it was about a 2 out of 6. It was not a bad ride for an aero looper, but we sat in the front knowing that those kind of coasters will bang you around, so we had a relatively smooth ride. That Cobra roll was kind of weird. It was a little bit painful, but we thought it was basically kind of like a mix between Anaconda and the style of inversions that were on there, and also Loch Ness Monster because of that little surprise tunnel at the end. I didn't know that was coming, and that was a nice surprise. Oh boy, here we go. The dreaded Vekoma SLC, the Mind Eraser. All these different Vekomas have different ride experiences. Let's hope this is one of the good ones. I haven't heard too many bad things about this one. The Mind Eraser at Six Flags America gets a bad rap, but we've actually had a pretty good experience on that one, so let's hope this one's at least comparable. Here we go. So for Darien Lake's version of the Mind Eraser, I would give it a 3 out of 6 Flags for credit number 206, and Jen's credit number 207, she gives it 2 out of 6 Flags. We had heard coming in that they had put new restraints on the train. Looking at them, they looked like the same old restraints that we had ridden on other SLCs that were extremely uncomfortable, so we were really worried when we sat in our seats. But we sat in the front row, so that probably helped a little bit, but it turns out that the new restraints actually are very comfortable. We had a relatively smooth ride for an SLC, but because it was an SLC, it still had that roughness, so that's why we rated it so low. But overall, it wasn't a terrible ride. We would ride it again in the future on a different trip, not again today though. And right next to Mind Eraser is Tantrum, a Gerschlauer Eurofighter model. The Eurofighters always have the vertical lift hill and a beyond vertical drop, which is a lot of fun. They tend to be short rides and kind of similar, but they're still fun, and this is actually the newest coaster at this park, so we'll give it a shot and see how it goes. For Tantrum, credit number 207 for me and 208 for Jen. We both agree, we say it's a 5 out of 6 Flags. It's a really great ride. It's been a while since we've ridden another coaster of this type, and I seem to remember, I could be misremembering, but I seem to remember there being over-the-shoulder restraints on the other one we rode. This one has a lap bar, which made it feel a lot more freeing, a lot more airtime. We love the vertical lift hill and the beyond vertical drop. It's a lot of fun to start the ride off. And the only complaint that we really have with the ride with all of these Eurofighters is that they're pretty short. This one was no different, so that's why we had to keep it at a 5. So the Hoot and Holler is billed as a family coaster, but according to the ride sign, you have to be between 3 feet and 4.5 feet tall. So neither Jen nor I can get this credit, which means pretty much only children can ride this, which makes it not a family coaster, makes it a kiddie coaster. So it's mislabeled. In light of that, we give it an NA out of Six Flags. To the north end of the park, you cross a bridge by this big lake, and as you come down, at the end of the bridge, you come to this sculpture of this sea creature. It looks like half shark and half carp, and as a matter of fact, if you come over here, according to this sign, that's exactly what it is, the Darien Lake Sharp. And I thought that this was something made up just to be funny, but it turns out it's a real thing that's actually in this lake, which is very interesting. But as you turn away from this sign, if you've read it all, you come to Darien Lake's Boomerang coaster, and it's aptly just named Boomerang. I cannot stress enough how much I hate Boomerang coasters. I specifically really hate the backwards loop after you go up the second lift hill and drop backwards. You first hit the loop, and that makes me feel queasy more often than not, so I really hate riding these coasters. We'll see how this one goes. It might be better, it might be worse. I doubt it'll be worse, but we'll give it a shot and see how it feels. So the Boomerang, credit number 208 for me, 209 for Jen. It was relatively smooth for a Boomerang. It still wasn't great. The backwards loop wasn't terrible. I didn't really feel that sick after getting off of it this time, so that's a big improvement. Despite that, because of my bias against boomerangs, I still give this 2 out of 6 flags. Jen gives it 3 out of 6 flags. She enjoyed the smoothness of it a little more than I did. The only reason I'm not giving it a 1 out of 6 is because I haven't ridden Predator yet, and I'm very curious to see how that ride experience is going to be. And coming around here, that brings us to Predator. The only wooden coaster in the park. I've heard some bad things about this one being very rough, but we heard recently that in the off-season it got a few hundred feet of retracking done to make part of it smoother. So since we don't have any experience with the old version, I don't really have anything to compare it to, but we'll see how this goes. Hopefully it's better than advertised. Okay, Predator, credit number 209 for me, 210 for Jen. Jen really had a lot of enjoyment on this. She actually gave it a 5 out of 6 flags. Me, on the other hand, I wasn't as big a fan. I did like it more than the Boomerang. I think I want to bump that Boomerang down to a 1 out of 6 flags. I'll give this a 2 out of 6 flags. The track that was replaced made a gigantic difference in the ride experience. So I've really enjoyed, it's on the helix near the end of the ride, and I very much enjoyed that part of it. It was very smooth, but it was a very short section, and the rest of the ride was pretty rough as expected. I didn't particularly enjoy it, so I would have to stick with a 2 out of 6 flags for that one. As you get off of Predator, you walk underneath of the track that's behind me here. And as you walk underneath the track, swing around, and you come directly to Ride of Steel. When you get out of the way of the track, this is the one and only hyper coaster, actually a mega coaster at this park, since it's an intimate and hyper coaster is a B&M term, but I like calling it hyper coaster anyway. It's the only coaster over 200 feet tall regardless here. I believe it is a clone of other Rides of Steel, so we already have experience riding it, but we'll both give this one a shot and see how it is. Ride of Steel, credit number 210 for me, 211 for Jen. Jen and I are pretty much both in agreement. This is about a 3 out of 6 flags. It is definitely a clone of a couple other Superman hyper / mega coasters out there. It's a fun ride. The restraints come down kind of tight on the waist, and it doesn't really help you get a lot of good air time, which is something you really want from a hyper coaster, so that was a little disappointing. It was a fun ride. The upward and downward helixes were a lot of fun, but they were mainly the only highlight of the ride aside from the first drop. So yeah, 3 out of 6 flags seems fair for this one. Coming around the lake, and by around I mean all the way around the lake, we come to this red bridge here, and on the opposite side of the red bridge is our last coaster that we have yet to ride, the Moto Coaster. This one is a rare Zamperla launch coaster that has you leaning forward as it launches you. It was 34 miles per hour in 2 seconds. As you can see, there it goes. And up and around. So we're gonna give this one a shot, and then we'll let you know after we're done. So for the Moto Coaster, credit number 211 for me, 212 for Jen. We both agreed. We said it was 5 flags out of 6. It was a surprisingly thrilling launch at the start. It's an interesting experience to launch while leaning a little bit forward, because they force you forward and then put the restraint kind of on your back. So there aren't too many coasters that do things like that. It was different, but the problem is that you only go about probably 30 feet or so on the launch, and then you start going up the hill and you lose all the momentum. So from there, once you're at the top, it's basically kind of like an elongated downward spiral. There are no upward points at all after you initially go up, which is kind of a letdown, but still for a rare Zamperla launch, it's very interesting, a lot of fun. 5 out of 6 flags for this one. It's one of the best coasters here. I also wanted to add real quick that although we agree that it's a 5 out of 6 flags in terms of the ride experience, it's about a -2 out of 6 flags in terms of convenience to get to it. Having to go around the entire lake only to come to a dead end is a major hindrance, and making it less interesting to want to re-ride this at a later time. I have to say that for a small Six Flags park, for their flaws, it's a shocker how much I enjoy the coasters here. One of the interesting non-coaster related things at this park is this stand here that's similar to Dippin' Dots, but everything is made of coffee. Coffee and creamer to be exact. 40 degrees below Joe. They have 5 different flavors, and some of them are made with coconut milk, some of them are made with almond milk. So there's a whole variety to look at and try. It's a fun idea. Unfortunately, the stand is closed right now, but yes, it is actual coffee. New for 2022, this area has become the parents' patio. It's a place for adults to recharge, relax. Kids are full of energy, most adults are not. So it's the perfect area to go if you just need a little bit of a break. They have complimentary charging stations, which is nice if you bring electronics with you. The inside at this moment is not open. I don't know if they plan to open it in the future, but there's plenty of seating outside. And as you can see, thankfully it's empty right now, but charging on this table. And there's a couple others scattered around. So it's a nice addition, especially if you're tech savvy. At the entrance to Hurricane Harbor, shark! There aren't too many places at this park to buy alcohol. One of them, and the only one that is actually a place to sit and drink, is the Busted Barrel Saloon. They have TVs and seating, a bar. The reason it's called the Busted Barrel Saloon, around the side, a nice busted barrel, which actually, if you're facing it head on, you can see it says Saloon, so it's the perfect accompaniment to this bar. In front of the saloon, they have a barrel that lists the beers that they have on tap currently. Here's a closer look at the list as of today. I'm not sure whether or not they rotate, but this is what they have. One thing I have to say is that I love my collectibles at amusement parks. So, just for fun, here's a few of them that they have available. They have a selection of pins here for Darien Lake. And above that, they have some magnets, a few designs. Nice variety here. Against the other wall back here, they have a great selection of glassware too. Shot glasses and mugs. So if you're interested in collecting any of these, Darien Lake's a good place to come. They have a good selection. Interesting to see that there is a distinct lack of DC property at this particular park. Normally the skip the line pass would be known as the flash pass, but because there's no DC property at this park, they call it the go fast pass here, and just interesting to see. So despite being too big for one coaster here, there's still 7 coasters at this park that we were able to ride, 7 new credits, which was really fun. The coasters themselves were kind of mediocre, but they also had some somewhat hidden gems. Jen said that she preferred the Moto Coaster with her 5 out of 6 flags. I personally preferred the Gerstlauer Eurofighter. I really enjoyed the fact that the restraints were lap bars so that we were able to get more airtime. That really made a huge difference on that coaster. And in addition, there are a few other hidden gems at this park, a couple of fun things that we were fortunate to show you. For us, it was a bit of a drive to get here, so we're not sure when we'll be able to make it back, but next time we do come here, we'll do a more in-depth look at the park. We wanted to give you a little bit of a teaser, show you a few fun things here, make you want to come to this park yourself and take a look. There are a lot of fun things to do here, and it would be great if you could come see them all for yourself. If you found our video interesting, we would appreciate it if you would give it a like, and we would also appreciate if you would subscribe to our channel. Every like and every subscribe really helps the channel a lot. Also be sure to check out our Instagram page, which should be appearing down in the corner right now. And thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, but the fun's not over yet. Click the box in front of my face for another fun video, or click my tree to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss another video.